Hey everyone, so today I wanted to address counseling and whether I thought counseling is beneficial, helpful, and or worth it for someone who is grieving and trying to cope through the loss of a loved one. And bottom line, I think my personal opinion is that counseling is worth it 1,000%. I also think that you don't have to necessarily go to counseling if you lost someone. I think everybody could benefit from counseling, and I'll address that later in the video. But specifically, if you're here watching because you lost a loved one, I think that counseling is very, very beneficial. And yeah, I have been in and out of counseling since I was 16. So that is over 12 years that I've been in and out. And the first time I went to counseling was the day after my mom passed away. And at the time, again, I was 16, so I had no say whether I wanted to or didn't want to. My family basically did not know how to deal with what happened with my mom, and they didn't know what to do and what to say to my sister and I, and they didn't want to say the wrong thing, so that's the reason why they signed us up to see a therapist so quickly. And I think at the time I was a little annoyed because everything was so fresh. I didn't want to talk to a stranger. But thinking about it now, I think they made the best decision for us. I continued therapy up until I was 18. Once I felt like I was at a place where I didn't need it anymore, I stopped. And I didn't go back until I was I think a junior or a senior in college. And I had a complete mental breakdown in college. I was really stressed out. I had a lot going on, and a lot of the feelings that I was having with when I lost my mom started coming up. So I went back into counseling, and this time around was easier. It wasn't as difficult, and I didn't have to do it for as long as I did the first round. Once I was better again, I stopped, and I didn't go back until now that I lost Abel. And I went back to counseling the second week after Abel had passed away, which is kind of quick. People don't usually jump into counseling so quickly, but for me personally, I noticed that some of the coping mechanisms I used when I lost my mom were not working with losing Abel. And what I ended up learning is that every loss is different. So something that worked with one person you lost is different than this loss. Or things that might be triggers for one loss might not be triggers for the other. And so you have to treat every loss differently. And so I ended up going back, and I've been in therapy for about 5 weeks now, and I go once a week, and I'm not going to sit here and say I love it because it's a lot of work, but I feel so much better every session. Every session, before I get there, I have the jitters, I'm nervous, I don't want to go, but then once I go and I'm out, I feel so much better. I feel like a weight has been lifted. So yeah, I definitely think that counseling is beneficial. Now, with that being said, is it hard? It's freaking hard. You choose what you want to talk about, and if you want to make your therapy worth it, and you want to actually resolve your issues and work through your issues, you will get in deep to what you're feeling. You discuss everything that's on your mind, every emotion. And so it's really hard. It's really hard because, you're living your week trying to get back to some sort of norm. And then here you are at your session where it's okay and you're expected to bring up these feelings you've been trying so hard to kind of keep away. So, yeah, that's really, really hard. But it's so fulfilling after, because you don't realize how much these emotions, how much these feelings, how draining it is, and how much they weigh on you until you let it out. And when you're letting it out, there's no judgment on the other side. You're going through different emotions, so many different emotions in such a short amount of time, because usually most sessions are about an hour. I mean, my session this week, I was crying. I think I yelled at a certain point. I was angry. I was upset. I was anxious, and I was sad, and I was depressed. So I had all these feelings all in 1 hour and having to talk about it. So it's hard. But like I said, after you walk out, you feel better, and then you come up with conclusions as to, wait a minute, why am I feeling this way? Is this normal? It's a lot of work. It's really hard, but it's so fulfilling. It's an amazing process for you to see for yourself, when you how you started and then how you end. It's an amazing process, and it makes you stronger, and it makes you more vigilant to patterns that you end up developing. And you can choose to go down a healthy route or an unhealthy route. So, yeah, do I think counseling and therapy helps? Absolutely. I think everybody could benefit from therapy, because we're all human. We all have issues. I think that everybody could benefit from it, especially somebody who has lost someone special to them, because you are going through so many different emotions all at once, and it's normal. But sometimes we need help in guiding us how to let ourselves feel these emotions and how to move on healthy with these emotions. The other thing, since I started going to counseling, is you kind of start realizing issues that you thought were resolved are not quite as resolved. A lot of the things that I'm talking about, as much as I'm talking about Abel, I'm also talking about my mom. And I didn't realize that I had a lot of unresolved issues with losing my mom. And so there's a lot of your past goes into your current state and how you're feeling. And so when you go into counseling, you have to deal with that. You have to deal with your past, your current, and your future. And so it's a lot that you would deal with, but again, it'll be fulfilling in the end. Right now, I'm currently seeing my therapist once a week. She feels that that's what I need. Later, when she starts seeing an improvement, she'll probably do every other week, and then maybe once a month. So it just kind of depends on your needs. And if you are in the beginning uncomfortable with every week, you could just let them know and say, I would rather do every other week, or, take things slow. Counseling isn't for everybody. It really isn't. My husband tried to do it. He went with me the first week, and he probably said maybe like 5 things the whole hour, and then the rest of the time I was talking, and so he just said it wasn't for him, and he hasn't gone back. I asked my therapist what are some signs and symptoms that I could look out for in JoJo in case she would need counseling, and she told me, and therefore I ended up feeling that there was a need for JoJo to go into counseling, and she's seeing a child therapist. So we're both doing it, and we both feel great after, and we get to bond and talk about this process. So I'm glad I'm doing it. I'm glad JoJo's doing it, and yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on what ends up happening. But if you're considering doing counseling, it's a great thing. But yeah, that's my opinion on counseling. I hope everybody enjoyed this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!